And we back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I finally did it. This is a video that I've been requested like for 3 cycles of 2K, and I've always told myself I wasn't gonna do it because I don't know what direction to take the video other than to make. Today, we put every player back on the team that originally drafted them. And that's not the same as putting players on the team that they started with, because as you know, we have draft day trades. For example, if you didn't know, Donovan Mitchell wasn't drafted by the Utah Jazz. He was drafted by the Denver Nuggets and then traded to the Jazz on draft night. So yeah, we're gonna run this simulation a few times, try to figure out what team has the best drafting history. But sometimes having good drafting history means that you a bad GM because you traded away Donovan Mitchell. Like, oh, you know what I'm saying? So you can draft well, but also not put together great teams. We're gonna figure that out as we go. Leave a like, subscribe. Today's video is brought to you by HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code Kenny16 for 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts.
Just got my package in from HelloFresh, ready to cook.
HelloFresh saves time, money, and stress.
So we got smoky brown sugar chicken salads. Came all wrapped up in the bag. Got my chicken, got my other stuff. I don't know. All pre-proportioned.
HelloFresh makes it super easy to adjust your plan and meal size.
Personally, I find myself in a rut where I eat like the same thing every single day. And with HelloFresh, that changes. Back in high school, I took a home ec class that taught me the proper way of cutting things. None of that is coming to mind at the moment.
In our household, sustainability is such a big deal, and HelloFresh has the same priorities as us. They cut down food waste by at least 25% compared to the grocery stores. They're the first carbon neutral meal kit company, and nearly all packaging is recyclable.
That's a salad, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't cut the chicken very well. I don't think I let it rest long enough, but that's a salad.
Do not forget to go to HelloFresh.com and use code Kenny16 so you can get 16 free meals plus 3 additional surprise gifts. Thank you again to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video.
And this all took me 25 to 30 minutes. Easy lunch, healthy lunch, HelloFresh.
Now, I do want to say that I'm a goofy. I'm definitely goofy for the way I did things, right? My method, when I created this roster, I could not find somebody else that did it, even though I know 100% for 1000% sure that somebody else has done this before and created this roster, but I could not find it, so I had to create it myself. And the way I did it is I released all players to free agency, then assigned them to whatever team they got drafted to. The problem with doing that is once you release somebody to free agency, their contracts are done. So now every person in my league is on a 1-year deal, so I gotta like restart the simulation every single time we want to do a new year, instead of letting like Matisse Thybulle progress for 3 seasons. He'll always be like an 84. I said Matisse Thybulle. Tyrese Maxey, he always be in like an 84 and nothing higher. Okay, you got it? Cool. Anyway, this is a challenge that heavily favors teams that have been tanking for the last decade or something similar. And that's what we get in the 76ers, right? Trust the process era had a ton of draft picks. Starting off with Joel Embiid, obviously the biggest and best draft pick that they ended up having. Jrue Holiday also got drafted by them in 2009. Ben Simmons, of course, was a trust the process candidate. Tyrese Maxey's here. Nikola Vucevic was drafted here in 2011. Mikal Bridges was drafted here and got traded away on draft night for Zaire Smith. Bad trade on bad trade. Jeremy Grant got drafted here with Rashawn Holmes. Markelle Fultz, this was the Jason Tatum trade. Iggy, Willie Hernan-Gomez, Lou Will, Thaddeus Young, Landry Shamet, Jahlil Okafor. That is a complete roster. You're gonna see that some of these teams don't even have complete rosters, bro. Like this team has Milwaukee, Malcolm Brogdon. I said Milwaukee. Oh my God, I'm tripping. Giannis, Malcolm Brogdon, Norman Powell, who they drafted and traded away, Kevin Porter Jr., who they drafted and traded away, Dante DiVincenzo, Ersan Ilyasova, Jabari Parker, Patrick McCaw, Thon Maker, and then 40 overall players. Once you got to below 73, I didn't care about your existence in this video. So I'm sure they have some people that they drafted recently, like Rashad Vaughn, who I don't even know if he's in the league anymore or in the game. If he is in the game, he's like a 68 overall, and it's not even worth putting him on the roster at this point. So the Milwaukee Bucks, since they have been a team that's been trying to compete for like 5-6 straight years now, they don't have a ton of draft picks because you trade the draft picks to get Jrue Holiday. You feel me? But next, Chicago Bulls. Jimmy Butler, Derrick Rose, Wendell Carter, Yusuf Nurkic, who we traded away, him and Gary Harris away for Doug McDermott. But you got Bobby Portis, Larry Marketing, LaMarcus Aldridge, who we traded away for Tyrese Thomas all the way back in 2006. Daniel Gafford, Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, and then, yeah, the rest of this team is here. Not a bad roster compared to some of the other ones you're going to see. Cleveland actually got a whip. LeBron, Kyrie, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Wiggs, who they traded away for Kevin Love after they drafted him, Tyus Jones, Colin Sexton, Tristan Thompson, Joe Harris, Jay Crowder, Isaac Okoro, and Danny Green. That's low-key a whip. Them and the 76ers have to be somewhat of the favorites for their conferences. I also will say, since I created this, you might see a little hiccups here or there. It is what it is. Just let it be what it be, all right? Next, we have Jason. Oh, yeah, this is a team, too. This is basically their current team, but they traded away Desmond Bane a couple of seasons ago. Terry Rozier. They traded away Matisse Thybulle a couple years ago. And yeah, do I need to read all the names? You see them. You got Joe Johnson from 40 years ago. When was Joe Johnson drafted? 2000? 2001. Wow. The Clippers. You got to think about the Clippers' recent history. They went to the Chris Paul, Lob City era, right? Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, where they basically didn't have no picks. They was trading them away for like Matt Barnes and then Paul Pierce and stuff. And then they got out of that era, then went to like the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell era. That lasted a year, and then they traded all of the picks again to get Paul George and Kawhi. So they have not really drafted in the last couple years. And when they have drafted, it's been towards the end of the draft, at the end of the first round. And a lot of those players don't turn out to be higher than an 83 or 73, 74 overall. So this is what their team looks like. They have 6 players. Memphis, not a crazy great roster when you look at it here. Even like the current players that you see on their team, they didn't draft necessarily. They made the trades to get the picks that ended up being those players. But like Xavier Tillman was not drafted by them, or Brandon Clark was not drafted by them, but they made the trades to get them on the roster. And I'm trying to figure out what's more impressive, making the trades for the people on draft night or just probably making the trades. Yeah. So, but yeah, this is the team that they got. They got Kyle Lowry, who of course started his career here, Mike Conley, K Love, Trey Murphy, and Javon Carter. Like, that's their roster. One of the biggest draft day trades in recent history had to do with Luka Doncic and Trae Young. So now Luka Doncic is in Atlanta with John Collins, Al Horford, Kelly Oubre, Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter, Jackson Hayes, James Ennis, and then, yeah, a couple more people down here. At least they got close to a full roster. You cannot say that about every team. The Miami Heat are another team that prides themselves on not really having draft picks. They pick people up out of the undrafted pool and make them great. So you got Bam, Tyler Hero, Bogdanovich, Precious Achiuwa, Josh Richardson, and Justice Winslow. Like, that's it. The Hornets have had a ton of draft picks in recent history. I didn't even realize this until I did my research. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander drafted by the Charlotte Hornets, and now after I saw that, I remember him with the hat on and everything. LaMelo Ball, obviously 3rd overall pick a few years ago. Tobias Harris, that I did not know. Dwight Powell, PJ Washington, Kemba Walker, of course, Malik Monk, Frank Kaminsky. You know, this is the rest of the roster. Even like, I forgot Nerlens Noel got drafted here. 6th overall. I forgot that happened. But at least they got also another team that has close to a complete roster, and that might go a long way. Utah Jazz, another team with close to a complete roster, but nobody over Gordon Hayward. He's back in Utah, and he is the best player again, just like the last time you saw him there. Alec Burks is also here. I remember him getting drafted. I remember when Ennis Cancer, because that's what he was when he got drafted, was there. Grayson Allen, I remember that draft pick. Paul Millsap, of course, in the late 2nd round. And then you get to the Sacramento Kings, who've had nothing but lottery picks for the last 10 years. So let's see how they did. De'Aaron and Tyrese, they already traded away him. You feel me? They drafted Gary Trent Jr., Boogie Cousins, Marvin Bagley, of course. Isaiah Thomas was Mr. Irrelevant, being the 60th overall pick. Zach Collins, and then Willie Cauley-Stein. That's their roster. New York Knicks, I expected the Knicks to have way more draft picks than this, but then you have people that kind of fell out of the league eventually after getting drafted by the Knicks. But Porzingis, RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Gallinari, Obi Toppin, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Trevor Ariza. The Lakers have a team. You know, the Lakers were in the lottery for a good portion of the last decade or so. So they have a ton of picks. Patrick Beverley was a pick by them, but they released him. They didn't even sign him to a contract, if I'm not mistaken, but they drafted him. Zubac, they traded away for Mike Muscala to the Clippers for basically nothing because Mike Muscala didn't even play. They drafted Isaiah Jackson. They drafted DeAndre Hunter, but this was a part of the Anthony Davis trade, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the rest of their team. They drafted Marc Gasol and then traded Marc Gasol to the Grizzlies for Pau Gasol, if you didn't know. A little piece of trivia to take home with you. You can't say you didn't learn nothing unless you already knew that. Domantas Sabonis, Mo Bamba, John Isaac, and then a bunch of other people. Pretty solid draft history from the Orlando Magic, and now they got the first overall pick. We dropped a video a couple days ago of us rebuilding them with their first overall pick, and it went swimmingly. Go watch that video. Dallas Mavericks have Trae Young, Jalen Brunson, and this is not a full roster, but you got Trae Young, who might average 60 because he ain't got that many other people to pass it to. 6'1", is in your backcourt, and then you got another guy that's 6'2". Like, that's it. Brooklyn, in their history, have drafted a ton of centers. You got Jared Allen, Kuzma's there, and then when you get to the centers, it's like Brook Lopez, Claxton, Mason Plumlee, Derek Favors, but they got close to a complete roster, but nobody's like super elite other than having, 86 overall Jared Allen, but he don't even have a point guard to pass him the ball, so I guess you running Cam Thomas at your point guard. No, you probably rocking the Alexander Walker at point, Cam at the 2, Sadiq. Oh, they got a lot of options at the wing position, but they don't have a point guard. Denver drafted Rudy Gobert, traded him on draft night. Drafted Donovan Mitchell, traded him on draft night. This team has a potential to win, I don't know, 65 games strictly based on the fact that they have 3 like guaranteed all-star and another guy that's close to an all-star. Then you still got Michael Porter Jr. You got an old Melo, but he's still Melo to some extent. I think this is probably the best. Is this the best roster? They definitely got the possibility of being the best roster. And then you got Kawhi and Paul George, who can't get away from each other. Both of them drafted by the Pacers, but Kawhi traded on draft night for George Hill, while Paul George stayed for a few seasons. But they actually have some pretty okay draft history, but not a complete roster. Now we got to the Pelicans, who have Anthony Davis, Chris Paul, and Zion. I mean, this is not a bad start at 5. If Buddy Hield was your 2, Herb is your 3, and then you got the rest of these dudes. I would like to have this as my start at 5, but then you got like Edmund Sumner, who tore his ACL before the season started, so I don't even know what to think about him. Darius Miller here, Zaire Williams here, and it is what it is. Pistons have Chris Middleton. They traded him away to the Bucks for basically nothing. We forget about that. Actually, we're gonna forget about that. Detroit basketball. I don't mean to rub it in, but Chris Middleton, pretty good player. Kay Cunningham, Spencer Dinwiddie, who I was a fan of once he ended up going there out of Colorado. Backup position, power forward. Rest of the roster, pretty okay. They did have Stanley Johnson, Stan the Man Johnson, and that didn't work out great. We almost there. Raps. The Raps, bro. Yeah. DeMar, Pascal, Jonas Valanciunas. So you run Pascal at the 4, Scotty Barnes at the 3, DeMar DeRozan at the 2. That's what I would do. At point guard is DeLon Wright. You got T. Ross. You got Jakob. And then, short rotation, but it can work. No injuries in this world, so everything is possible. Not a terrible team because they have a ton of bodies here, but nobody that stands out. You got Clint. You got some young players who they just drafted this previous season, but nothing too crazy either. The Spurs have DeJounte Keldon, basically their roster. The Spurs draft their players and keep their players. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. I guess they drafted Goran Dragic years and years ago, but that's pretty much it. The Suns drafted Book, Aiden, TJ Warren, and then Bogdanovich, but that's pretty much it. Marquise Chris, who, not the greatest pick at 8th overall. Alex Len, not the greatest pick at 5th. I was going to say 4th. 5th overall. They didn't have the best luck, but they got better. Thunder. Thunder. Yeah. I mean, Russell Westbrook at this point is a bit old, so he's not the 90-plus overall player like James Harden and KD are, but you still got Giddey, you got Brandon Clark, you got Nyeka Okongwu, you got Alperen Sengun, you got Emmanuel Quickly. This is another team that I think can have real possibility of being a favorite. They're just deep. They don't have a ton of wings, though. They don't have any small forwards on the roster. But I would throw Brandon Clark at the 4, let KD run the 3, and then now we got Giddey and Harden. Or we can have Harden and Westbrook and have Giddey as a... I don't know. I'm not the guy running the team, but I think there's a couple different scenarios you can have there. Zach LaVine, Anthony Edwards, and Karl Anthony Towns would be a core that I would like to build with. But other than that, it's about Bear. Trailblazers have CJ and Dame, Anthony Simons, Will Barton, and that's pretty much it. The Warriors drafted well. Steph Curry, Draymond, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Harrison Barnes, who won a championship with them, Jonathan Kuminga, Kevon Looney. These are all products of the Golden State Warriors, and they did a pretty good job. And then lastly, the Wizards have Bradley Beal and John Wall together, with JaVale McGee being their 3rd best player. But this is a team that recently hit the lottery, so they're going to have a lot of younger people like Corey Kispert, like Rui Hachimura, like Denny Abdia, you feel me? It's just like that. That is the entire roster. And now, finally, we get the simulator. Yeah, Jokic and them are probably pretty good. Also, the 76ers are the 1 seed. So here are the awards. 6th man goes to DeAndre Jordan, I guess. That's the world we're living in right now. Terrence Mann is there with most improved player. Doc Rivers wins coach of the year. Oh, this is 76ers. I don't know why I saw DeAndre Jordan back in the Clippers jersey and immediately thought that Doc Rivers was still coaching the Clips, but he is not. Anybody on their new teams show out? Oh, this Pelicans pair could have been playing together in real life if Anthony Davis didn't wear that "That's All Folks" shirt and demanded a trade. This could be a real possibility right now. But nope. Jaren been on their third team is a surprise. But hey, we got rid of a lot of players that shoot the ball. He's shooting 38% from the field and made All-NBA. That's not ideal. All right, let's figure out who did what. As we saw, the 76ers were the best team in basketball. Point differential proves it. But we have a team, a play-in team here. And the Hawks, whose point differential is 8. So this record that they have that makes them a play-in team, actually that's a really good record to be a play-in team. This team is better than what their overall record says, so I wonder if this team is going to upset some people. Luka, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish, John Collins, and Al Horford's a pretty good starting five, and you got Oubre Hayes, and they got a nice roster right there, so I'm actually surprised they end up losing that many games, but when they win, you know? The worst team out east ended up being the New York Knicks with just 12 wins here, and that feels terrible. They don't have a point guard, so you got R.J. Barrett running the one. And he only averaged 3 assists per game as the primary ball handler. They had no shot creation whatsoever for each other. So that kind of makes sense. The Heat are also pretty bad, but better than that team. I mean, come on, minus 16 point differential is insane. Out west, the worst team were the Clippers. Yeah, we kind of saw this coming. I mean, DeAndre Jordan won 6th Man of the Year, so that's a bright side in their franchise, but like, he only got that because he gets rebounds. That's literally all it is. He still ended up playing like 38 minutes per game. And that's the only reason why he got that many rebounds. Oh, boy. But yeah, that team is really, really bad. A minus 20 point differential. The best team in basketball, or at least in the Western point differential right here for the Nugs are actually pretty good too. But the Western Conference is way closer than the Eastern Conference. But actually, the Eastern Conference is close, too. It was just the 76ers that were better than the entire pack. That's what it was. The Pelicans were the 1 seed, though. I mean, you got Chris Paul at the helm with some lob threats and some shooters. And then, yeah, 2 All-NBA players on top of that. They're going to be successful. James Harden and Kevin Durant back together. Gonna be successful. I'm more invested in the West Coast or the Western Conference than the Eastern Conference for sure. We just saw the Atlanta Hawks get eliminated, by the way. So you're talking about them potentially surprising people. They ain't surprised nobody. They let everybody down, actually, by getting eliminated. I mean, I would have liked to jump in, but the dogs started barking, and bada boom, bada bam, we missed this 7-game series. But Game 7 ended up being a 7-point game, and the Thunder get eliminated by Dylan Brooks. Like, this team is not supposed to be as good as what they ended up being, and they ended up in the 2nd round. The Bulls beat the Toronto Raptors, which is a surprise because the Toronto Raptors, as we went over, is a pretty good team. But Scotty Barnes in his 30 minutes didn't give them a single thing. Wow. Wendell Carter's the truth, I guess. Yep, that's the only explanation. All right, 2nd round. Give me a 7-game in the 2nd round, man. 2K playoffs are better than real-life playoffs, I'm starting to assume. Because you get like look, we got a Game 7 over here. The Warriors and the Houston Rockets. Again, I don't know how the Houston Rockets are even at this point going against the Warriors. Maybe the Warriors are just old at this point. You know what I'm saying? It's not prime Clay or prime Draymond. Even though that would have been a good video to make everybody in their prime if you put them to the new team. Because now you got prime Boogie, you know what I'm saying, on his team and everything. But I miss prime Boogie. It is what it is, though. The Rockets got this far, and I'm proud of them, but they stood no chance. Denver versus the Warriors. 76ers versus the Cavaliers. Give me a 7. 3 2s on both sides. And it is ending in 6 on both. 76ers, Warriors. Not heavily surprised by this. These are 2 really good teams that are deep. I think the 76ers are just going to steamroll them. I'm going to be honest with you. 76ers, not the 76ers. 76ers, not the 76ers. Oh, I said steamroll, but we get to Game 7. All right, get it. Make it be good. Make it be good enough for us to be able to jump in with 2 minutes left. If it's anything within 5, we jump in with 2 minutes left, but it's not close to 5. That's, oh, wait. Oh, that's a run. It's not close to 5 anymore, though. Yep, Joel Embiid and the 76ers win year number 1. Jeremy Grant in a Game 7 shot 14 free throws. Wow. Insanity. Is this team that much more overpowered than all the other ones? We about to find out with simulation number 2. Also, if you want to know the players that did not get drafted, this is the undrafted pool. And part of me wants to add them to a 31st team. Should I do that? Should I add a 31st team and just... We're doing it. We're doing it. I'm adding a 31st team specifically for the undrafted players because they couldn't be worse than the Knicks were last year. You know what I'm saying? Add the undrafted players to some random roster or some random team. Just give me a second. It's going to take a minute, but give me a second. This team is high-key decent. Fred VanVleet, Gary Payton II, Lou Dort, Chris Boucher, and Christian Wood is the starting lineup. You got Jason Taylor, Caruso. We got some really good players. Dorian Finney-Smith don't even get PT on this roster. They're this Las Vegas Diamond just because they just needed to be a team. But this is a playoff team, in my personal opinion. We're about to find out. So this is the same. Jokic wins MVP. Most improved player. The OKC Thunder get Coach of the Year. Okay. All right, here are all the All-NBA teams. Cool. OKC got 2 on the second team. Okay, cool. The team that I thought was going to be a for sure playoff team is the 10 seed. So that didn't end up happening exactly as planned. But hey, it is what it is. How much of things changed? The Clippers are still the worst team in basketball. The Knicks actually won more games this time around, which don't make any sense to me. But it's the truth. It's the way it works. What we're seeing is that simulations, it's very similar. It's very uniform. I mean, the amount of wins are a little bit different, but majority of the teams that made it last year are making it this year as well. All right, but let's see if the same team will win, because if the same team wins, it's over with. We know that the 76ers are the best drafting team in all of basketball. You know what? That's not true. They had the most shots. They got eliminated in the first round anyway. The process had them having a million first round picks, so it's like, yeah, you're going to hit on a good amount of them because you have so many of them. That's what I'm feeling about OKC right now in real life. You got a million first-round picks. There's no way you miss on all of them, so you're going to have some really good teams. And they just went ham in that Game 7. 141 points in regulation is insanity. All right, so the 76ers actually got eliminated in this simulation, and now, like, the number 1 seed is getting eliminated over here, too. So we got the 6 and the 8 seed versus the 5 and the 2 seed. Is Jokic and company going to do it? Jokic versus LeBron. Rudy Gobert's at the 4. Okay. If I had to bet, I'm betting on Denver to win this series, but it is 2-2. And the Cavs are going to a Game 7 here. Back-to-back Game 7s, though. I love to see that. We getting close fights. And this one might be jump-inable, but it's not. It's not jump-inable, y'all. It's not jump-inable. A word that we just made up. Jokic wins regular season and finals MVP. He put up 23, 13, and 16 in the Game 7 of the finals. Give that man that award and every other award associated with NBA playoffs because he did it all. All right, to see who the final winner is of this challenge, we're going to be forcing some games. LeBron ended up winning regular season MVP, so that's cool. We're going to be forcing some games to make Denver versus the 76ers in the NBA finals. We're going to give them a good 7-game series. And we're going to see who wins it all. Okay. I think these teams match up pretty solid. I mean, at the center position, you decide personally who you think is the better center. It's a coin toss for me. At power forward, you got the higher overall in Rudy Gobert. But in the small forward, Mikal Bridges is better than Michael Porter Jr. in game. Donovan Mitchell is better than Tyrese Maxey in game. And then the point guard positions, they're the same overall. And they both have benches. But I think the 76er bench is just deeper. So that's, if I had to bet, I'm going to guess that the 76ers wins this series. Game 1 is, okay, it's 1-1 tied. 3-1 Nuggets, 3-2 Nuggets, 3-3, and we get a Game 7. Please be close. Close game is better than everything, but it doesn't look like it. A big run would have to be going on, and no, just like that, the 76ers have proved that they've had the most shots at a draft pick and hit on a lot. Like, again, they had Ben Simmons coming off the bench, Vucevic coming off the bench. They had Rashawn Holmes, Markelle, like they had a lot of really good people coming off their bench. So shout out to the Sixers. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We gonna end it there. Bye, peace.